Most farmers want healthy soil that grows great crops for either their livestock to eat or to resell themselves. I'm Rob from Dowdle Family Farms, and I've just finished planting over 10 acres of cover crops, some of it on new land and some of it on land that we've grown cover crops on for a long time. Over the last 2 years, I've been regenerating this 4/10 of an acre field right here with cover crops and livestock. Other areas of this section of the farm have had cover crops on them now for over 5 years. In this video, I want to show you what it looks like just 9 days after planting the cover crops in fields where you have had a lot of great cover crops grown for 2 years, and in a field where we've had no cover crops grown. When I seeded this field, I did not add any additional nitrogen to the soil, nor did I add any other kind of fertilizer. All I did is I broadcast the larger seeded crops, the buckwheat and the soybeans, and then I disked it in, and then I broadcast the hybrid pearl millet on top of the ground and did not disc or till it at all after that. On a field about a mile down the road though, it's part of a 10-acre journey where we're regenerating that field with cover crops and livestock. It has not had any cover crops grown on it, and it has not performed very well in the last several years. So I added almost 8 or 9 pounds of nitrogen per acre when I planted those cover crops. What I want to do is take you over there and just see how this field right here compares to that one over there. Before we do that, let me just show you a little bit of what this field looks like right now at its current state. So that right there is the buckwheat, and then you can see some of the forage soybean right there. You can see a little bit of the little grassy stuff sprouting, which is the hybrid pearl millet. It's a little early for it to be growing really well right now, at least based on my experience, but there are areas where it's growing really well, much better than I had anticipated. You'll see that the buckwheat, like that right there, is starting to get its second stage of leaves. The cotyledon leaves are growing, and now it's putting on the next set of leaves. You can also see the similar thing happening with some of the forage soybeans as well. When we step over here, you see a lot more of the forage soybeans and the buckwheat. I just broadcast it, so I didn't get it real specific when I planted it. And then in some of these areas where I ran over it with the tractor or whatever else, you can see that the hybrid pearl millet is growing a little bit better. You'll notice that there's a forage soybean right there, but over here you begin to see more of the cowpeas that we planted. They have slightly sharper pointed and slightly longer leaves on them, but it's just a test crop that I'm trying to experiment with and see which one performs better. So now let's go take a look at the other field. It got the same treatment as this one, and let's take a look at what it looks like. So currently I'm standing in a 10-acre field that we're regenerating with cover crops and livestock, and this is the first year that we've ever grown any cover crops on any of this land, with the exception of a couple acres right here to my left. Here on my right, I prepared the ground in the same way, planted in the same way. The only difference is I added sunflowers and I added sorghum Sudan grass in this cover crop species. Over here to my left, I had planted very similar stuff, but it did have a crop of soybeans last fall that the army worms basically devoured, but it did have a little bit of disking and soil prep last year. You can see some green growing. That's just the grassy stuff that was disked and I did not pulverize. Just so you know, I did not completely pulverize. I ran over this field about 3 times, but I did not dry it out and pulverize it. That really was not my goal. Maybe I should have, who knows. But it got a lot more soil preparation than the 4/10 of an acre field did. You can see a little bit of the grass species that are planted right there, the hybrid pearl millet and the sorghum Sudan grass, and it's doing okay. You can tell here that that's buckwheat, and this plant right here is doing okay, but it's better than most of the others. That's the cowpea right there, and it's not doing quite as well. But you can see that these are just subdued. They're not planted and they're not growing quite as well. Again, I planted about 8 pounds of nitrogen per acre to this field when I seeded these crops into the ground. So you can tell that some of these buckwheat plants are doing better than the others. I don't know if it's a soil moisture thing or if it's just that particular area was started germinating better and it's just performing. You can see that sunflower's doing okay. But then some of these other buckwheat plants are just real small compared to like that one right there. So this 3-acre field is doing better than the 5-acre field, but again, it's just, I think it had a little bit better soil preparation from the disking when I planted the soybeans last year. The 5-acre field A over here to my right that we started off with, it's got stuff growing in it and it's looking like it may do relatively well. But again, it's just very slow growth compared to that 4/10 of an acre that I showed at the beginning of this video. It is just outperforming all of these fields, even with less time to grow and no fertilizer. Finally, the 3-acre field behind me, just north of me over here, it is growing all right. It's had a week longer to grow than the 4/10 of an acre, but the crops are not doing very well, and still it got about 10 pounds of nitrogen per acre in that 3 acres. Many of our YouTube viewers have asked to see soil tests and that kind of thing, and I just don't have the time or the energy to go about collecting soil samples. I know that it's helpful and it's important, but I'm not going to follow the directions from the soil test anyway, so I don't do it. What I do know and what I can tell, however, is that as I plant cover crops, I can tell a difference in the soil. I can tell a difference in how quickly the seeds germinate, how much soil moisture is there, and how little ground prep that I have to do in order to plant the seeds. On the 4/10 of an acre that I've had with cover crops and livestock for almost 2 years now, it's only had 1 season of growing a warm season cover crop, and already this second season's crop is growing absolutely phenomenally with no fertilizer, and I only had to lightly disc over the ground to cover up those larger seeded crops. All that to say, I know soil tests can be helpful indicators, especially for people who do not see the benefits of cover crops and livestock, but I'm here to tell you today that if you begin growing warm season cover crops especially, they can produce a world of a lot of benefit to your soil, increase the organic matter, increase the carbon, increase the water holding capacity, increase soil life, and you can almost eliminate fertilizers after a year or so. And in that process, you generate healthier soil, you generate healthier crops, and with sorghum Sudan grass, you can still get several tons of dry matter per acre, which outperforms most perennial pastures, no matter how well they're fertilized. Let me encourage you to just try on a small portion of your farm, of your homestead, of your garden, planting some warm season cover crops, and you will be amazed next year when you're planting your cover crops, your grasses, or your garden. Take care. Have a great day.